Hi, I'm Oliver Knighton. I'm a Race Support and Strategy Engineer here at Racing Point, and I'm going to give you a quick tour of our Acronis mission control. On the front row we have strategy, on the second is performance, and on the third row we have control, tyres and gearbox. Over in the corner we have the simulator operators, and at the back vehicle performance group. The departments that are running in mission control here, so we have strategy, who are obviously involved in all aspects of the race event, so from pre-event on the tyre allocations, the weather forecasting and the overall plan for the weekend, including the qualifying programme and the race tactics. The performance group, who are looking at all aspects of car optimisation, so from suspension, aerodynamics, tyres and also the competitor analysis. The control engineer giving extra support to his counterpart at the circuit, similar to the tyre engineer. Obviously they're more data driven from mission control, mainly looking at the data from the car and the thermal cameras that we run through the event. The simulator side will run the simulator driver pre-event to optimise the setup. Quite often the race drivers will also have some input into that as well. Through the event they'll also re-correlate their models and run test items that simply aren't practical or possible at the circuit. And then the vehicle performance group will look into the suspension ride analysis and any other support that they can offer trackside. The advantage of having mission control is that obviously we can have more support from more engineers. Not only are we limited on passes, but obviously it saves the travelling and expenses and time that goes with that. We also have, being away from the thick of it all, we have a bit more time to consider the bigger picture. We're in a bit of a cooler environment. Also physically, we have more space, we have more TVs. Because we have all the same data but more area to display it, it's much easier to actually see the bigger picture sometimes. Race strategy wise, it's also quite amazing sometimes calling a pit stop and then watch it happen on TV on the other side of the world. Not only is it important during events but also between. With more double and triple headers, the race team tend to stay away as there's simply not enough time to come back. So even between the events we're feeding back information to the race team and back to the factory, both in the short term for the upcoming races and the long term car design, looking for future years or updates through the season. The other advantage is obviously training new people who have not experienced the trackside environment before. It gets them used to the timings, the pressures and the limitations that you are experiencing at the circuit. Mission control itself is made up of a good mix of actually people who haven't been to the circuit, but also people whose full-time role has previously been at the circuit. So there's a good mix of experience that gets passed through the room. Normally every desk in mission control would be filled, but with the COVID restrictions we've had to split it out over multiple locations. So our area performance group have moved over the road into the main factory, into their own support room. As have reliability and our software support. And then next door we've moved out our mission control assistants, who are looking at other drivers' team radio, monitoring that and feeding that back to the circuit, and also the TV clipping, just to make everything COVID compliant. The main way that we communicate with the race team trackside is through the intercom, which you'll have seen on most pit walls. On that we've got 24 different conferences. So between those, that includes the driver radio channels directly to the race engineer, which the race strategists use to communicate the pit stop and qualifying timings. We've also got lots of other different conferences, so all the pit channels to get to the mechanics and to call the pit stops. We've got reliability, tyres, aerodynamics. Also within the room ourselves, we use the intercom to communicate between desks and also now at the different locations through mission control. We monitor the other drivers' team radio through it as well. And we have specific conferences to get calls quickly to the pit wall should we need to, under circumstances such as safety cars or other cars boxing, when we're monitoring our competitors as close as possible. So the intercom's not only used just during sessions but also out of sessions, with all the debriefs, the briefings and strategy meetings being held on it. Also between events it's also used to communicate with all our main event briefings and debriefs, as well as all other design information that needs to be transferred to the circuit between each race event.